All right, we're recording. So Amanda and I are both former teachers. We taught secondary and now we're instructional designers in the office at eLearning. And so this session is going to be, you can follow along and do it on your device if you want to. If you have any questions, you can make it in the chat. Amanda will stop me if there's any questions. You can raise your hand or you can just interrupt me verbally. That's fine. It is a 1 hour session. We're shooting for just a little bit less because it is lunchtime, so I don't want to interfere with that. And if there's anything that I don't cover that's you want more in depth, you can always contact the Office of eLearning. We can do one-on-one with you. You can make a help ticket. We're happy to help you in any way. So we'll get started with the learning objectives. So for this session, we're going to demonstrate how the single sign-on works, because that is a new change for this year. Explain the difference between a master course and a standard course, because as faculty, you could be given one or both in a semester. We're going to show you 2 ways to navigate Sakai, how to do information for instructions, if you need to edit things in your course, 2 instructional tools that you can use in Sakai, and how to manage some of those things. And so these learning objectives to show you alignment will be also at the bottom of slides when we cover something that aligns to them. So first, we're going to do how to access Sakai, because there was a major change this summer. Oh, that's my icon. So Sakai is our learning management system, and it does similar things to Canvas, Blackboard, Schoology, and some of the other ones like out there. Ours is a lower cost one because we can customize it very heavily. So we use it for all of our online courses, but we also use it for face-to-face and some of the hybrid courses because it can host content and assignments and quizzes and things like that in there. When you get to our page, our welcome page here right now will have some information about the single sign-on, because we still are in the first 6 months of this change, and it will have the buttons about how you log in. So as a student or faculty, you will have the West Liberty login, and now we're using our Active Directory to log in. That Active Directory is really a bunch of back-end technology speak, but it's single sign-on. So you have one account, you have one password, it gets you to a lot of things. So this single sign-on, if you have your email address at West Liberty, and typically it's your first dot last name. So your Active Directory username is this username. Your initial password is usually your birth date based on whatever information is in Banner. And then you can customize your password if you need to change it later on. Once you get into this, this Active Directory will sync you in to Sakai and some of the other things that use that login. And on your first time logging into this, it will ask you to change it. You can also go to, if you need to update it, you can also get help with IT to change your password. But this will be your username in there. So the page currently looks like this. If you go to the West Liberty menu, the Go menu, this single sign-on button here will take you to this window. You're going to use the Active Directory to log in, and these are some things that may appear in your screen based on your account of what that single sign-on will get you to. And if you are using Sakai heavily, you will probably need to bookmark this page because you'll use it a lot. And this is actually just called Hello ID. So IT will put in lots of different tools that will use that single sign-on. So your login here may show you different tools based on what your position is at the university. So let's get into a basic course. Your Sakai course are whatever you're currently enrolled in and the ones that you've had previous semesters. So there is a yellow banner across the top, and these are your courses that are across there. You can click on any one of these things, or you can also get to this 9 dot menu on the top right corner, and you can see all your classes that you've had previously. So if, for instance, if I click this one, I could see the ones that I was enrolled in, either as a student or faculty. These are populated during a sync that happens with the registrar's office. So it happens at noon and 8 o'clock every day. So right now there's a process happening where any changes to Banner or registrations is being updated in Sakai right now. So if you withdrew from a course or you register late, it's not instantaneous access. It happens twice a day. And if you You can star classes that you want on your yellow banner if they're frequently used for you. But if you it's in a class that you aren't using a lot, or if it's a face-to-face class that doesn't use Sakai heavily, you could unfavorite and unstar it, and it'll clean up this banner for you. So that's just a personal choice. A master course is the full package for an online course that's been through this process of development with a faculty member and an instructional designer. It hits all the requirements of a good online course. We have a rubric that we use, and it's kind of the full package, and we give it to faculty every semester who's teaching that course for as many semesters until the course is refreshed. So if you are an online faculty, you are just given this package, and you don't have to create any content. Now, you do need to publish some things like assignments and due dates and quizzes and stuff, but you're not curating any content for yourself. Right now, we have over 200 courses. We build about 20 each semester to add to that list. And then there's always a sprinkling of new courses that need refreshed, they need a new textbook or something. So that list is growing. All of our online courses have to meet Quality Matters, which is an organization that creates standards for online classes about what does a good class have, what should it look like, what should it do, and we have this rubric. This rubric was updated in the summer. We are on the 7th edition, and we will give you this slide later on, that there is 40-some different things that we're looking for in a course, whether it gets full points or partial points, to judge whether it's a good class. And so we try to strive to have our online courses very well developed, because they're kind of important. It's different than teaching face-to-face. A course template, regardless of whether it's face-to-face or hybrid or online, there's kind of a standard chunk that gets copied in Sakai for every course section that we offer every semester. So we've tried to highlight some of the things that an instructor would need to update in those courses for each semester, like your name, your office hours, your contact information, things that are kind of specific to that one specific section. So it's easy to find. Within the courses, there are modules. You can add more. We're kind of giving you a standard template to kind of get you started on what we're looking for. Like, you have objectives, you have assignments and readings and things like that. And it's very clear what a student should do in that class. Now, for face-to-face, they may not use much of the Sakai pieces, but they can. Hybrid is kind of half in Sakai, half face-to-face. And then the online has that very rigorous template it has to meet. And so we try to, you may have a lot of yellow in your course if it's face-to-face, so you kind of get started. The hybrid also has to start, and then the master course is going to have very few yellow highlights because all the content's kind of there. You just need to put your name and contact information on them. You also may have developed a course on your own, or you've had some stuff from the previous semester that you want to roll over. And so we call this importing. You have to be an instructor in the course of the content to take it somewhere else. So if you were an instructor in the last semester, you can take that content and put it in a current semester. If you don't have access, you can make a Sakai help ticket, and someone from the Office of eLearning can import it for you. Just be very specific on which course, which section, and where is it going. So in a Sakai course, on the left side in your tools, there's called Site Info. And one of those options is to import from somewhere else. And you will have 3 options. One that's the most commonly used is the replace. Take everything from this section and put it over here. I just want a very simple copy of everything. That is most often what we get asked for. In this scenario, you're not changing anything, you just want a full copy. Sometimes you may want to have some things from the old site and some things that you're going to put in, and that would be a merge. That's if you just need to edit some things and have them side by side. This one over here is not used as much. It's just kind of merging users. So say you had a group that was like business club or marketing club, and you want the users to be over here for this is the next group for this semester. That's a lesser common request. When you are going to import, you have an option of what to import. The most common one is you want everything, assignments, the overview, the reading, the resources, everything. Or you can take just assignments, just quizzes, just the modules, whatever you want. And then we can select in a checkmark box list of what it is you want to import. This can take several minutes, depending on how much content is in there that's going to roll over. We tell people it roughly takes about 15 minutes to make sure everything's over there. And when it is finished, it will give you an email notification that has been complete. So we kind of wait for that email to make sure everything came over. Once you're in a course, you have a menu, but it's also customizable. So your standard template has most of these things, but if it's something you're not using in your course, because it's a different type of course or it's face-to-face hybrid, you can hide tools to clean up this toolbar. So when you are in, any one of these are clickable. When you're in a module, there's also a back index button, which will go to whatever page is linked before or after, or you can customize a button and go to a specific place in the course. So on our typical course modules page, there's usually a button that has all the modules, which are really links to those sub pages. And if you needed to rearrange your course and wanted this module to go before this other one, you just rearrange the order, but the pages are not changed in the content. We can also turn off some of these things. So in your course, if you were using live text, we could hide this tool, so this would be shorter. If you were not using any resources, it was just instruction, you could do that also, but this is very customizable to you. There are a few things that you need to do as an instructor for your course, regardless of whatever template you have and whatever section that you have. You need to add your name, your contact information, and this will be for every semester and section that you teach. Typically, there is a homepage and we have placeholders for that stuff, but if it's been a course that was hybrid or face-to-face, there may not be a template for you, but those are some of the basic information that you have. The places where you need to put this information is the overview page, which is a sample shown here. Typically, you have a picture of something welcoming. This is the first entrance to the course that your students see. It's just some kind of picture that's related, it's welcoming, and you definitely know who's teaching it, where they are, and how to contact them. In the Start Here module, there's also a section for where you put like a little bio about yourself, where you go to school, some of your hobbies, anything that you're willing to put out there and share with your students, just as an instructor presence of who is teaching this course, especially for the online courses where you may not be seeing these students face-to-face to get to know them. It's sort of a welcoming practice. Another one is your syllabus, and this is a requirement of the institution that every course, regardless of face-to-face, hybrid, or online, has a syllabus posted in Sakai, because that's a repository for where those syllabi live. And the reason for this is if we have students who transfer or need to move credits around, we have to go back to the syllabus and share that with another institution for them to justify the credits. So when that request come in, we are looking at the syllabus tool to see if that document is there. You can either type the information in on the page, so it's like a web page, or you can add a Word document or PDF of your syllabus. That is up to you. And your roster will have your information and your profile from your Sakai there, and you can also see your students there. So that's one way to find out who's in the class and how to contact them also. And when it's all updated, every time it syncs from the registrar, that roster is accurate. So your syllabus, here's what I mentioned before. We do give you a template that has some basic placeholders for information, but you are allowed to adjust it and put whatever you feel is necessary. So if you want to fill this in as the web page, that's fine. If you want to add an attachment down here at the bottom of your syllabus that's already created, that's fine also. The policy is that by the first class meetings, the first time it meets in this semester, whether it's a full 16 weeks or 8 weeks or a second half, you have that syllabus in there because that's where we are hosting that information. And we do have a handful of student transfers or grade request every semester, and that's where we're looking for it. Your textbooks are not required, but there are some ways to handle it if you do. So if you know the book that you're going to be using, you need to tell the bookstore ahead of time so they can have it on their roster. And they can have those books prepared. We do have an agreement starting this year with Barnes & Noble for undergraduate courses that if the bookstore knows ahead of time that that book is going to be there, they will import a digital version of that book to your Sakai course, and students will pay a reduced fee of $25 per credit hour for that book. So depending on the book that you choose, that could be a huge discount for students, or it could just be even. But this saves a lot of the effort on the bookstore of having to have the physical books, the students having to go get them and having to return them at the end of the semester. It's a digital book. One of the other benefits is a lot of these textbook publishers are now going to digital sites, but they're also wrapping a website around the book. So it's almost like another LMS with an LMS. They have PowerPoints, they have videos, they have, interactivities in their site that are hosted outside of our LMS. But you would get to it through our Sakai. So it's kind of like you have your class, you have a portal that goes over here and takes the students to this specific stuff. This is especially true if you have science and labs and some of those advanced course materials. Now, the publisher reps are the ones that handle the troubleshooting. The Office of e-Learning can't really handle your book too much because we don't have access to that. It's very much the instructor and the rep if there's any issues. But it also makes it easier on students. They just log into that single sign-on to Sakai, and they get into their book with a single sign-on also. So it does have its benefits. In a course, you have these customized tools. You can set them up to be on or off. You can rearrange them in any order that you see fit. Those are very much your preferences. So you might have an order here that you want them to do. And if you want to change them, that site info, and there will be a tab called Manage Tools, will help you rearrange and drag and drop those in order. Your main tools that you're probably going to use, regardless of whatever your content is, are these shown here. These are default on, and they especially are used in online courses. So in your online courses, you have your course modules, which are pages for each topic or week or however you want it to do of the content. This is where you give students instructions on what chapter are they reading. Are they reading articles, presentations, videos, instructions on how to do the assignments? It's all kind of packaged there. These are thought of as lessons. And within each lesson, you're going to have activities. So if you have discussions, assignments, and quizzes and tools, they're the most common ones. There are actually links to tools that even though you talk about them in the module, they go to this tool to do them. So the discussions tool is opened up so each student can post, you can respond, and it has timestamps. And so it's kind of a very threaded tool. The assignments are when students are submitting something to you in Sakai. And although you may be assigning a reading or watching a video, you're not collecting anything in that. But if you were to assign a paper or a quiz, you would be collecting it. And that's where you would use the assignments and quizzes tool. It's hosting and gathering something on the end. And something we also support a faculty using is rubrics. So if you're going to grade something, especially many times, a rubric is very helpful so you are consistent in your grading and fair. So when you have a rubric, and traditionally you may have had a chart on paper or printout or something, we can build it in Sakai in the same format. And when you have this rubric, you can click on the boxes of the criteria and it's going to calculate the points for you. And those points, if they are attached to an assignment or discussion or even a quiz, it will put those points in the gradebook for you. So that saves you a step as an instructor. And we can have lots of rubrics. We can share rubrics. We can alter rubrics for every course. So there's a lot of powerful behind this tool that you can use across your stuff. And then all of these things go into the gradebook. So your gradebook is where you can post your points or your participation, and it will calculate the math for you as you go along. Every time you update something, whether it's an assignment grade, discussion grade, a quiz was done, it's updating for you, so you do not have to manage that. You just have to put the listings of this quiz, this assignment, whatever, and it has a placeholder for that score to go into. Students can see their grades at any point. They're always updated. And so it's very handy for faculty to have that updated because there's no questions on what is my grade. It's already there. There are other pieces that you can put into Sakai depending on what your content is. So there are some things that we can add that enhance a class and make it a little more engaging and rigorous. And we can also add links to tools from your publisher. So some of the most common publishers that we use across our courses are Cengage, Pearson, and Labster. They have a lot of content based for each book. And then you would tell your students, here's the link to Pearson, go out and see this chapter, see this video, whatever they have there. So they're within Sakai in the course. Some of the other tools that are within Sakai that you can add to your class, announcements. So although you can send out an email and type in every student's email to send it, you can also do an announcement that will post it in the course. It'll show up on the homepage where it's there, and it's kind of an easy way to get the information out. You can also do a live chat room. So it's just like any other chat room, a box pops up and the students who are in the course live can actually talk back and forth to each other. And there's a video component. So that may be good for some live work or groups to meet. We can also embed podcasts from somewhere else because that's considered an instructional piece, just like videos or PowerPoints. You can take a poll. So if your class is going to vote on an assignment or a date to do something, you can do a poll or just questions on debate, and it will show the data in there. Blogs are another tool that the English department is using quite a bit, where students have a space in Sakai in their course where they can just freely write and they can show it to other people. People can comment on it. So it's a very good piece to show writing. It's not necessarily a formal paper because that submitted would only be seen by the instructor. This is sort of a community viewing writing piece. And then messages is where you can send messages back and forth to individual students or a group. They have a question about assignment or they have, other things they want to ask you, and it goes back and forth. What this actually does, though, is links to your Gmail account. And so it kind of hosts it through Sakai, because if you don't log into Sakai and you don't have your notifications on, you may not realize there's a message there. So messages is kind of the way it pushes it into your email and it goes back to the students in that way. A Sakai module can be set up in multiple ways. So this is a screenshot of the course modules page that has links that are actually been turned into buttons that actually go to subpages that have the content. And we can rearrange these in any order if we wanted to restructure the course, and then we could just rename them. And these, you see, have release dates. So you can build your course and pace it out. So students have just this to focus on at this time. And when that time passes, they'll get a new section to focus on. So it's a sort of a way to pace students that way. But you can also have it be open for the whole semester and they kind of see what's coming. That's just an instructor preference for you. You can also change the color of these buttons. You can change the title. You can also put a note underneath here. We do have some courses that are hybrid that have Zoom that are going to be scheduled at a certain time. So for instance, under this one, it would say Zoom is scheduled for, Tuesday at 6 p.m. or something. You can put some of this information. Some instructors also put a description of what that module is going to be. So that's totally an instructor preference on that. And one thing that we kind of encourage people to use is the term module instead of week. And the reason is we have these courses, specifically master's courses, that they're built with content, but they can be delivered in different time periods. So we have semester-long courses that are 16 weeks long. We have courses that are offered in 8 weeks, some in 7, some in 6, and some in 4. So if we use the term module, we don't have to change or update some of that verbiage across the content. We just say module, you're going to have 2 modules this week, instead of saying you have 2 weeks of 2-week stuff. So this is kind of just makes it long-term easier to manage that way. And in a module, there are multiple things. We've looked at some of the buttons so far of what's in there, but here's what they actually can look like. We encourage you to have an introduction to the module. What is it they're learning? Why are they learning? What are the objectives and what are they going to do? Kind of like what you would do in a face-to-face class. You kind of welcome, set the housekeeping, and introduce the content. You also have some stuff where they do activities. So it might be a participate. We typically use this for discussions where they're going to talk back and forth and post. They can share links and videos. It's sort of that interactivity that we encourage in the online courses because they don't get to see each other face to face like they do in a traditional setting. You can post videos here, the links, PowerPoints, wherever something lives outside in the internet can be hosted here. And so it's a nice little window with just the clean video. And then assignments, what is it they're doing? The very specific assignments, when is it due? What are the criteria and how many points it's worth? And then we can link it to that actual link. So that doing so there and here saves students a step of having to go click on the tool and find it in a list. So it's kind of embedded here, just a cleaner design way. And all of these things meet quality matters standards of having engaging material, different kinds of multimedia. You have clear instructions. If the students understand what they're supposed to do, they understand how they're being evaluated. And these kind of things all go into that. Now, once you have all the stuff in there and you have a course, there's a little bit of management over time. So you may need to communicate off and on with your students. So we talked about the message center earlier. So here in your messages, it will give you a running total if there's something new coming in, if you've deleted something, and what a message might look like. So if you're going to compose a message to one or more students, it looks kind of like your text box of when you're editing content in Sakai. But really what it is doing is generating an email from your account to that student or students. So when you compose an email and you need to format it in every way you want, when you click the recipients, it's going to pre-populate with who is enrolled in your Sakai class based on that data syncing from the registrar twice a day. So you don't need to go find their email. You just find their name and the email is part of that behind data. So you could do multiple people or single ones and then have your message. So you can use messages through Sakai, but since it's generating it through your Gmail, you could use Gmail directly too. It's just an instructor preference. Your announcements are things that everybody needs to know. So you may or may not want to send an email message. You just could make an announcement that would be hosted in Sakai. These are for course-wide messages. It goes to everyone that's in there. It may be something like a last minute, you're going to extend a due date, or you're going to be uncommunicated, you have an appointment or something. And you can have your full text editor. You can add attachments and pictures and stuff like that. So here's an example of the item. It's underlined, so it means it's accessible. You can click on it and edit it, who created it, when it was, and who it went to. And for this case, it went to the whole site. And then if you needed to remove an announcement because you made a mistake or it's not applicable anymore, you can also delete it. And this is a management piece that's commonly used. The attendance is really for face-to-face and hybrid that takes attendance, and maybe use it as part of your grade. So when you have the attendance tool turned on, it's going to populate with your students based on that register sync with the data. And if the student has photos in their profile, they'll show here, or it defaults to their initials. It'll have their student name. And if you have students with similar names, it's actually their email. So you know it's, John Smith and not this John Smith. And then these are the options of how you want to record their attendance. And if you want to use the attendance as a gradebook tool or gradebook item later on in their grade, you can. You would have this data here, or it's just for your record keeping preferences. And one thing that you need to know as a faculty member is after a certain time period, if students are not active in their Sakai or in their face-to-face class, you need to report them as not attending. So when you have, we need to verify their enrollment. In a traditional class, it's the first 2 weeks. So whether it's an 8-week class or 16-week class, that first week or two, if you've not heard from a student, they haven't completed anything, they haven't shown up in class, we report them as not attending, and they will be withdrawn or dropped from the course, and that data will sync. They will be removed from the Sakai course on the next sync. Enrolled has some different meanings depending on your class. So if you are a face-to-face class, we kind of need to see them within one session. If you meet 2 or 3 times a week, hopefully you see them at some point in there. If they don't, that's when you report their attendance. If it's an online class, the first 2 days, we hope that they would have logged in or done participation in a discussion or assignment. If they don't, or they haven't submitted any work, we report them as not attending for that. And a lot of our tickets for the Office of e-learning is a student says they were in a class, but now it's not there. And usually it's because they haven't done any work, thinking it's an online class they can do whenever they want, and they've been withdrawn. When that happens, and you put their attendance in our WIN system, and that syncs with the registrar, and it syncs with Sakai, it will be at your discretion whether the student can be put back in. So that's something you can work out with the registrar's office. Because if they're 2 weeks behind and they haven't done anything, it's usually very hard to catch up at that point. So it's kind of a case-by-case basis. Speaking of final grades, if you have the gradebook generating all your scores for you, at the end of the term, you need to do something with the final score. So your total grade is always calculating in your gradebook as you enter grades and new scores come in. At the end of the semester, you will go into the WIN system and report the final grade. And since West Liberty just does full letter grades, we don't have pluses or minuses, you are going to get that letter grade there, and you're just going to copy it into WINs. So something that would be helpful to do is if you have your Sakai roster and gradebook complete and everything factored correctly, you would have one window open here, one window for WINs, and you just put the grade in that matches and be done. And that final grades are due at mid-semester if you have an 8-week class, and in December if you have the full semester class. So that time period is coming up for the full semester here soon. And if you have your grades in Sakai, those grades and all that data and all that student work will be kept there. We don't delete any old courses in our system. The reason for that is when this final grade gets over to WINs, we hope that it's correct. But we also have students who can test that grade, saying they should have got a better grade later down the road or whatever. If we can go back to your grade book and all the work that was submitted in Sakai, we have a legal standing to say, yes, this was your grade, or nope, there was a mistake. So that's kind of why we want the data to be held here, especially if we're going to do long-term retention. So when you're setting up your final course or getting ready for a semester, which is coming up soon, the spring courses the sections are in Sakai already. So if you are ready to start putting content in there, great, you can do that. If you want us to import from something, make a help ticket, we can get started on that so it's ready to go in January. I won't show you this video, but it is here for your information. If you want a quick 5 minutes on how to get your class ready for the semester, all the little things you need to check, just as a reminder. So I covered a lot of things. If you need any help with specific things, we do have some courses that you can do at your own pace about how do you start a new course, planning it, how do you build it, and how do you manage it once it's off the ground. We have other videos where we've done certain things like what do you need to know to get your course ready. And if you want to just have one-on-one, you can always make a help ticket. We can sit down with you and do specific things for your specific class. If you need Sakai help, something didn't work right, a quiz isn't working, something like that, in your help menu of Sakai, there's a help ticket button that will take you directly to make a ticket, and you tell us the specifics of your class number, the section, what is the issue, what's the module. We check it every single day of the year. We work year round. On weekends, the response time might be just a little bit longer, but we always have someone checking tickets every single day to get back to you. And be specific as possible. And if you need to take screenshots or have something that helps them explain your issue, you can attach those to the ticket. So are there any questions in the chat, Amanda? I know I kind of went a little fast there.
No, there was no questions in the chat.
We're we're going to record this and we will send it out to you here shortly, and a link to the slides if you want to go back and digest them on your own. And if there's no questions, then you're free to go, and we will send you some here shortly. Thank you for attending, and we look forward to helping you in any way we can.